So the first thing that we do is we just double click on ABE, and this will do an automatic background extraction. So it's pulling out data from the image and basically pulling out like gradient. So if we click on it and drag it and drop it, it'll dump it out and it'll create a new image. And in here it's got the image. So if you check some stuff here on the image correction, you can do division, subtraction to pull out the information. So I leave it at division, so you can change that if you want. It'll do two different pulls of information based on if you do a division or subtraction, and then you can figure out which you like best, because again, this is about learning the processes, but very generically. Once the image has been pulled out, it creates a new image here, and we can look at the background, and this is basically what it pulled out. So if we do an auto stretch on this, this is basically what it pulled out. So it pulled out this gradient color, and then basically you have the image that it created, which is the new image. So this is what it looks like. Again, we're not done. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on this, but this is what ABE looks like. So what I'm going to do is basically do the same thing. So I'm going to close out of this because we don't need that, and we don't need this. And then we can just minimize this real quick. So it'll be over here. We can just drag the icon over. So the next thing is data background extraction. And depending on which one you like best, you can move forward with whatever image that you want. But in here, I just go down to sample generation, and then I click on generate, and then it generates these little I don't even know what to call them. I guess the little radiuses that it creates here. And essentially you can click in here and choose other data that you don't want. I leave it at the defaults. Some people get crazy and they like to click in here and do all kinds of stuff. You can play with it, you know, see how it manipulates the data differently. I personally just do a quick generate. Again, on that target image correction, it's doing division. You can also do subtraction, so you can play around with these settings and kind of see like what looks best for you. I like to kind of go quick with my processing, and I feel like this does a pretty good job. So I just hit the generate, and it creates the little dots where it thinks it needs to be. If I see like one of these is like on a star or is in the middle where I don't want it, you can just drag and move them around if you want. But I'm just going to leave them kind of where they're at. And at this point, we'll just hit the little check mark button, and then it'll create a new image called DBE, and it's still the same drizzle integration name that we have, and then it just puts the drizzle integration with the DBE just like it did for the ABE. So in here, we can stretch the background and see that it pulled out a much different gradient than ABE did, and then basically we can click on the image to look at it real quick. So this is what the image looks like after it pulled that out. So you can compare the two images and see which one you like better. You can do different posts on this. Don't worry about the green color haze. We'll get to all that later. What you're really looking for is like what looks better to you. You know, is there more detail in one? Does it look better based on just the overview of the image? And you can kind of pick what you want. In my opinion, I like this one better. If you want to go with the ABE, you can. The same steps that I'm applying will work on either image, so it's really up to you on what you want to do. But I like this better. I don't feel like it pulled out so much in the background, and maybe there's a little more texture in this background than this background. But again, it's personal preference, and I prefer this one, so I'm just going to go ahead and close out of that. And that is ABE and DBE, and we'll continue on with the next set of icons here for the processes that we'll be going through. Okay, so at this point we've done our DBE. Again, if you did the ABE, it's just fine. You can go through the same process and go with what feels good for you. So at this point, I usually minimize the main image and move it over here, our drizzle integration, because at this point we're working with the DBE image. Before I get too far ahead, I like to save kind of where I'm at so I can keep track of what's going on. So what we're going to do is just do a file and save project. What the save project does is it's going to keep track of all the stuff that we've done so far and all the changes that we've done and completed within editing the image, so we can kind of see it in a history view, which I'll go through here with the History Explorer in just a second. Actually, let me do that now because this saving is going to take a moment. So in here, if we click on the History Explorer, and we choose one of the images. So we have our drizzle integration image, which was our first image, and in here we did our dynamic crop, and then I did that fast rotation, but I chose not to do the fast rotation, and I went back. So it's got an arrow of where it was at. If I wanted to and I clicked on that, it would automatically create that, it would do that rotation again that I did. So if I click on this, see how it rotated it real quick. So it's cool. So as you do things, you can step back and forward on the History Explorer to basically see what's going on with your images. So I think it's, before we get too far ahead, I think it's good to do a quick save to see where we're at and kind of save as we go through the process. So in here on the History Explorer, you can choose which image you want to look at. So we want to look at the DBE image, so we click on that and it shows all that we've done. So this is the initial state. This is the first state that the image was created after we did the DBE. If you did the ABE, it's going to show just the initial state with the ABE. So at this point, like I said, I like to save it. So I like to go to File and Save Project, and then basically I like to put it on the desktop, and we'll just hit here and we'll call it Rose, because it's Rosette Nebula, and you can put an author and all that, I don't mind, and then I just hit the OK button, and at this point I go ahead and save it, and it'll go through and run the save. My console didn't open up, but it's basically saving at this point. So I will go ahead and stop the video and we'll continue on with the next one.